We are dreamers,
frontline workers,
students,
visionaries,
healthcare workers,
bankers,
engineers,
educators,
designers,
nurses.
We're multi-passionate people,
dog lovers,
podcasters, foot golfers.
We're hardworking,
blue collar,
strong, loving,
loyal.
We are advocates.
We're the sons and daughters of Lansing.
moms,
Dads, friends,
neighbors.
we are family.
We are tradition.
We are perseverance.
We are resilient.
We are old.
We're young. We are the future.
we are fans,
We are supporters.
We are smoking bubbles.
we are soccer.
We are football.
We're a community club.
Community focused. Community owned.
And we are community built.
This is Lansing's Club.
Lansing's Club.
Lansing's Club.
Lansing's Club.
we are Lansing Common FC.
Lansing Common FC.
Lansing Common FC.
Lansing Common Football Club.
We are Lansing Common FC. Let's go.
The Robin needed a podcast, and thus here we are. Welcome to the best and only Lansing Soccer Podcast. I am your host. My name is Weston Shelton, and I was hoping not to do a pod about a loss so soon, but unfortunately, we must soldier on. We're all martyrs in our own way, and I have a group of martyrs with me right now to talk about it now. A rough weekend in Lansing soccer, but some signs for hope too. We'll take you around. The disembodied voice you'll hear from time to time is Steve Beckman, Game Day Operations Manager. How's it going, Steve?
I'm all right. We'll get to actually watch a game live instead of scattering around the concourse upcoming this weekend.
Yeah, away games are like a beautiful, well, they're not totally a break, but I'm happy for you guys. You get to watch the game. I really am. We also got the VP, the merch master, Jeff Sykes. Jeff, that merch table was rocking this weekend.
Yeah, it's been rocking for the two previous nights. I mean, it's a good feedback. Kind of a tale of two merch nights. Like it was super hot this time around, so like the t-shirts flew this time. So we've kind of gotten lucky in that aspect. We haven't been super caught out with, anything kind of out and missing. So I mean, it's been good. I appreciate all the people who've stopped by and made a purchase. And you can continue to purchase online too. We'll take your money in more ways than one, but we appreciate it.
I also foolishly thought I could grab a poster after the game, and I was sorely mistaken, Jeff.
Yes.
Those will be available all season, though? All home games?
Yes. So I'm glad you brought that up. Our match day posters, we're getting them individually designed for each week. Each home game will have a different design, and it'll be designed by a different designer or artist from the Lansing community. And on game days, we are selling like nice 11 by 17 prints of those posters. I mean, frame worthy level quality, and all the proceeds from that go back to the artist who designed it. So try to push those and increase sales on those, but I mean, they look awesome, and it's been a fun thing to kind of watch this season.
And for a little bit of supporters perspective, making his second appearance on the Robin Pod, it's Dylan Lalamond. Dylan, supporter section, pretty rocking, especially in the first half.
Hey, cheers, Weston, on that pronunciation. I'm going to give you an 8.5 out of 10, so you have room for improvement over the season.
Yeah. I'd like you to put an Excel spreadsheet together and like rank all my pronunciations over the course of the season, please.
That was pretty solid. Yeah, we were ecstatic with the supporters group for the game. I think we really brought the noise, and win or loss, we're behind this team.
A couple new chants that you brought to the table. One that you really like. I'm sure it'll come up later.
It will.
And finally, for the journalistic perspective this week, we have you might have recognized this voice from the YouTube broadcast. It's Cameron Mclaren. Cameron, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. Just taking the day off from practice because there was no practice today. Been there the past couple of times, and then tomorrow I have a busy day with practice once again, and then giving the reins to Luca for the away games this weekend because I'll be back in the nice, beautiful, rainy weather that is Texas apparently this weekend. So should be fun.
Yes. So being your first appearance, just quickly, let's give you a little people a little background on you. You said before when we were talking, you're actually from Texas. Where in Texas? What brought you to Michigan State, and what are you hoping to do with journalism?
Yeah, so I'm originally from the Colony, which is a small suburb just north of Dallas. It's right next to Frisco and the Dallas Cowboys practice facility, if people know where that is. I usually just say Dallas because it's easier. I wanted to go to Michigan State kind of just to get away from everybody. Long story short, I wanted to be equidistant from my extended family in upstate New York, where I was born. Unfortunately not raised up there, and then be a few hours away from my family or my mom and dad back in Texas, and just the best of both worlds to not make everybody mad at me for moving 16 hours and like 10 hours away from each other. And then what I kind of want to do is just, journalism of any sort. Honestly, being a broadcaster is number one on my to-do list. So I'm really thankful for the opportunity I have to be the live stream commentator for Lansing Common, especially in this inaugural season. And then after this, it's hopefully I'll be able to come back next summer if you guys will let me. Well, I mean, I know that's way in the future, but especially
putting it out there now. He's shooting a shot.
Yeah, college kids, we always have to plan at least a year ahead. So, but it's just what I do, what I want to do.
I think it's pretty clear where this is going. You're about to hold out for an extension, but okay. Well, I'll let the board deal with that one. We have a mailbag question later about your prep for the game, so definitely excited to hear more about that. But I guess on your one day off, we appreciate you for still talking the team. All right, so let's get into it. Lansing lost their Midwest Premier League opener to the West Michigan Bearings 3-2. We told you on this very podcast this was going to be a tough one for a variety of reasons. The Bearings having a little more experience thus far in the season, and just being a pretty good team, as you saw, very aggressive, willing to shoot, and some pretty talented guys up top. So let's get into the goals. I love having this video. It's great. So let's get into the first one, although we have the other team's goals this time, which may be less fun. But 15th minute, Bearings got things going, made it 1-0. Aiden O'Connor played a low long ball up the field, and his kick back, it just goes right back to Hooker. Kind of a lucky ball here. He gets into a one-on-one versus O'Connor in the final third. He takes O'Connor more to the wing, then finds another Bearings player making an underlapping run right into the box, puts away an easy one-on-one chance. Cameron, watching that live, what do you think went wrong there? This was kind of a weird goal. A lot happened. I had to rewatch this one a lot to kind of figure everything out because there's a couple things here.
Yeah, so it was pretty much a deviation from the game plan, essentially right at the beginning of the game. Nobody was really firing on all cylinders. A couple people trying a little bit too hard. And I think you saw that a little bit there with O'Connor playing that Route 1 ball straight to the middle. And it was, not going to lie, it was a fluke. There was no way he meant for that ball to just go. It just sailed on it and caught a little bit of the wind and just hung up there for a while. Hooker's able to bring it down, and then right at the last second, Culberson, who was playing that left mid role, undercuts the run. Hammers tries to play the offside trap, doesn't work. That near side official on the press box side was really good with his lines most of the game, especially if you see that later on in the second half when Morissette was able to make a lot of farther runs on that half of the field. But Culberson goes inside. Hooker takes O'Connor out wide, and then Hammers tries to play the trap, and it just blows up in their face, and it's 1-0.
Any other thoughts? That Cameron just hit a lot of points on that one, so it might be tough for you to get any more input there, Jeff. He's
No,
Cameron's good at what he does, but hey, go for it.
It's absolutely it's great analysis. That's why he's in the big pressure situation, and I don't talk publicly about the game. It seemed to be a theme, just passing accuracy, and especially from the back. I felt like this was one of the situations where I think O'Connor was trying to do a little too much. I thought he played a great game, but it wasn't perfect. I think he was trying to force balls forward maybe a little too much, and I think that was maybe a symptom of some inefficiencies in the midfield. So I think he was trying to overcompensate for that, and this is one of the like Cam said, like there was no way that ball going back forward was meant to be a pass. It was just it caught a lucky run, and it set our back line on a little bit of a break situation, and just got caught out. So I mean, unlucky, a little bit symptomatic of some of our problems in the game, but I mean, hopefully. I'm sure that the staff is kind of working on those passing lines, because I mean that's the kind of stuff that was the frustrating part about the goal, is just the forcing the passes.
Yeah, I'll agree there. I think I mean we touted O'Connor's long balls last week. I have been given access to some stats, which has really excited me. But his long ball accuracy was only 50% this week, and he seems like a guy that's usually going to hit more of that 60-65 range on those. But yeah, that was kind of a rough long ball. A little bit of luck. Maybe took Marco just a second too long to see what was going on. He's kind of not at full sprint right away, but it was kind of just a bad situation. But to be fair, the Bears had other chances early too. They had probably earned a goal already to that point. 45th minute, just a little bit before halftime, just a tough one, putting Lansing down 2-0. This put me and Cody in a very distraught state. Bearings just kind of methodically worked their way through the midfield. You could see all the space there. Not a lot of pressure. They get the ball into the final third, and the middle of the box just opens up for Ariano. Makes a run in there, immediately gets the ball and shoots before O'Connor can close and puts it in. Just Dylan, kind of this goal to me is the most kind of the most telling for how that first half went. Just while Lansing had the ball in the midfield, they never had space. They were collapsed on immediately, and here the Bearings were just able to have all the time in the world to work the ball up the field and make that happen right before the half. Dylan.
Stop. Was there a question in that?
No. I thought you were a professional. No,
sorry. I thought you were a professional. A professional knows when to ask a question.
No, it was
it's called leading you into the conversation naturally. Sorry, go ahead.
But for someone who's not professional, they don't know those cues. Come on, Weston, help your guests out.
Absolutely, easy. It was easy. It was great play through the midfield. The midfield definitely got caught out with that. It wasn't prepped for that kind of play today, and the boys just got caught out. Yeah, a little bit too easy for the Bearings in that play.
What it reminded me of was kind of my level of defending in rec soccer, where I'm very much known for not actually stepping ever, but I just try to kind of play a position that kind of just sort of in the way. And that's what I felt like, especially Dante has an opportune moment to maybe step right there before that final pass. And he just keeps backing away and is pointing at other guys. I take some ownership of the situation, maybe be a little more aggressive. I think we were too soft. I think we were maybe just a little bit lazy even on the back line and in the defensive midfield area. And Bearings is a team you just can't do that against.
And I think Jeff makes a great point there. It seemed, I don't know if it was the change in formation or just the fact that this team is new and gelling, but you don't know if the communication is there on the field. Some players, like, they don't know whether they're supposed to step up on their player, hold their position, and it looked like you had a little bit of indecisiveness between the guys in the midfield there. You had people hesitant to press when they need to press, hold when they need to hold, and had two guys doing the same thing at the same time. Really, you had two people holding when one should have been hitting their man and really trying to stop that pass.
Then in the second half, things really weren't any better up to the 60th minute, and that's when the Bearings went up 3-0. An attack stalls out on the wings. Morissette passes the ball back to Marco, who decides to pass the ball back again, but either just misplays it or just doesn't even see the Bearings player there. The player steals the ball, looks up, sees Zach Kelly off his line, and you got to say a beautiful chip 45 yards out. Cameron, this was a tough one. That was I heard this one in your commentary. Just
Yeah, I mean, it was a superb finish, not gonna lie, to be able to pick out that top left corner, especially from 46 yards out, when he just straight up just took a whack at it and went for it.
You're right. I did short him a yard, Cameron. I
No,
did
you're
short him. I'm disrespectful.
No. I mean, it was similar to what Marco had been doing in that first half. Kind of going off that's like even before that second goal. That final 15 of the first half was all Lansing Common. The momentum was going back in their way. You go down 2-0 before halftime. It's a momentum killer. They came out looking better in the second half, but that the same ball was being played and the positioning was not right from what they had practiced or what they had gone over in training. That ball was going to be there no matter what because of the way that the Bearings play, collapsing in the midfield. They don't like to play a lot of people forward, and usually in that role, it was Hooker this week. It's usually McCaw, especially if he's a second half substitute. Why he was left off the lineup sheet, I have no clue. I thought that was going to be a great thing for Lansing Common, but it kind of just didn't matter in this game. But that pass was always going to be there, and I think just misplaced 60th minute, the sun in your eyes, especially going up against a team with white uniforms. I mean, you can't necessarily play that dangerous ball, but like the conservative option ended up being the most costly. But they had been practicing similar tactics in leading up to that game, especially on Wednesday of last week.
Yeah, with this league, there's probably, like I said, Lansing had it this week with I believe Esteban Russell, where people just have all their commitments and they can't make games. So that maybe that was the case for the Bearings player. Jeff, any additional thoughts?
Yeah, I heard kind of some talk, some rumbling on the concourse, just complaining about Zach Kelly's being that far out of his net, and the way I see him playing in our system, I'm actually totally comfortable with where he was positioned at that moment. It's just down to the it's a lazy ball from Marco. Like, hit with even a little bit more pace, and that ball, even when the Bearings player's trying to get to it, the ball kind of takes a longer deflection and the defense can recover. Like, it was a slow ball and just kind of poorly placed, to be honest, and it's not just calling out Marco in this situation, because there were tons of really lazy balls in the midfield. So it's just one of those, it's a tough luck kind of thing. Like, then that, not even like the turnover's bad, and then the finish is great. Like, how many guys could really hit the ball that sweet from that spot? I mean, it is just a confluence of luck and just some bad mistakes. Like, I think stuff like that gets fixed easy, and I'm not really like losing sleep over it, except for the fact that it ended up being the game-winning goal.
Yeah, the midfield, connecting in the midfield was just rough, and there was just some like way too early long balls. It was bad. Let's just say it was bad. I did have them clip Zach Kelly kicking the ball back into the net just because I wanted to give one of my dumb keeper insights. When you think you kind of may have fucked up, like, you're angry, but like you kind of have to physically show that you're angry so the whole team knows like you're pissed, so I feel that he was doing his job there and showing the team that he was pissed about it. So good job, Zach. But yeah, at this point it kind of felt like the wheels were kind of falling off. Dylan, I know in the supporter section I think we were pretty distraught at this point.
Yeah, coming off like a first half when you're got all energy, sitting there at the second half, kind of down in the dumps, that sort of thing. You do feel like the team, you feel that emotion with the team that, oh man, how are we going to pull this one off? Like, what are we going to do? Are we going to have to watch 2-3 more goals go in?
And it's not like we have beer to drink, during it.
That doesn't help either.
Like
you make do with the best situation.
But luckily, right after that, Lansing got their goal. 62nd minute. Ty Uziak gets the ball in the middle of the field, does a good job to avoid a couple of defenders, then plays a nice long ball to Kyle Scott on the right wing. And Kyle just makes a clever header, put him in a much better position to shoot the ball. He doesn't just let the ball keep going to the wing, and he immediately puts it home. Jeff, you were a big Nick Moon fan. Friend of the pod, Nicholas Sambar, I hope I said that right, said to me, "Is this our Nick Moon?" Talking about Kyle Scott, and I don't hate that comparison. He's been electric.
I mean, right and left backs have always been fan favorites in Lansing soccer, so that part of it's nothing new. But the kind of the offensive spark at the beginning of the season is very much Nick Moon, because I remember early Ignite times, like I feel like the scoring, it took a while for Ignite to kind of get some momentum in the goal scoring, and it was
the
Nick
strikers
Moon.
Weren't involved early.
And Nick Moon was the one who's unlocking the back line and making the runs, and I mean Kyle's in the same conversation just with what he's doing. And so yeah, that's a fair conversation. Like it was a good finish. Like you said, that the head down was he's playing like he's been around a while. Like that was a really intuitive move, and that's really, really good to see.
Great timing there with the Western Michigan connection too. So you got to give Ty some props too. Cameron, you're in training a lot. I take it Kyle's always looking that good as he's looked in our first 2 games.
It was something that they had noticed a lot with the way that Oakley likes to run his squads is if you see this specific image where they're overloading one side, he wants those fullbacks to bust forward as far as possible as they can. And you saw it on the first club goal. Dante to Kyle, 2 fullbacks to one another. It was perfect. It was beautiful. And then on this one, the one thing that I think kind of gets lost in translation is where the ball was actually won on this possession. If I remember correctly, it's Owen Swan that wins it at around the 40-45 yard line, just over the halfway line, gets the ball back. And they're able to kind of regroup, knock it around a little bit, and then you get that long ball over, and you find Kyle Scott with the cheeky header is able to knock it down, put it into his feet where he wants it, and easy as you like goes far post on the Bearings goalkeeper. And it was just winning the ball higher up the pitch is one of the main components of this team, and as mistakes are technically made in the back third, that's what Oakley loves to say. And being there in training, you see it a lot, that when they get the ball, whenever they're able to corral it in possession, it's a slow progression moving forward up the pitch. And that's what they were able to do on that goal.
Dylan, Kyle Scott with both the club's first ever goal and their first ever league goal. Do you have a sentence or two you want to say about Kyle Scott?
He's here. He's there. He's every fucking where. Kyle Scott.
That's all I wanted.
I love the way that guy plays. I really do.
So, I mean, we'll talk man of the match in a second, but yeah, that dude above anybody else on this team thus far, just like from a live watching, because, when you watch on the film, sometimes you notice different guys, but when you're watching live, he stands out always. Just it's so apparent. 80th minute, Lansing makes things interesting. Munir Shirali presses the Bearings after they had just won possession and managed to get a quick interception. He then gets through multiple Bearings defenders, plays a clever cross backwards to Louis Shefku, who making a late run and puts an easy one home. Jeff, I was stunned by the amount of work rewatching this, just how much Munir did here. This is just like a superstar play.
I think Mooney is a superstar. Going back and watching the game from week 1, there are a lot of plays he makes and he probably doesn't get enough credit for. And same thing in this game. I think his positioning is essentially go wherever there's space and or make the run to create space. Like he's the maestro of trying to open up the back line for our team. And the individual effort on this one is just skillful. Watching it live, I actually did get to see this goal. Nobody was at the merch table, so
it was by the merch
table.
I
initially thought that the ball might have reached the end line. I'm glad it actually wasn't near that. So I mean, what a great run. I mean, it was an easy finish, like easy as you like.
Mm-hmm. Cameron, what'd you think of Mooney's performance? I know, and you guys noted on the broadcast, a little more inconsistent with his free kicks this week, which is something I think we're going to be counting on generally. But I mean, this was one hell of a play.
Yeah, and it's when you talk about that formation, that 4-4-2 diamond, a lot of what they had planned was if in situations where they're able to press, which is where that first 30 minutes, there was a lot of indecisiveness between the midfield and the forwards on when exactly where they were going to press, how they were going to do it, and when exactly. Because on the pitch, it was around 90 degrees because turf is going to add an extra 10 degrees. So at this point in the game, they knew their back four was a little bit shaky. Their right back was a lot better than their left back. Apparently, according to Oakley, their left back has no left foot. So how Mooney was able to get their right back under pressure in that moment was great. And it's all about positioning. And they, on that specific play, it worked out great for Lansing Common in that area just because of the way that the positioning was. Liam was in the right place at the upper part of that diamond. He was there just chilling kind of in the middle. They had opportunities to have a flat 4-4-2 in the middle of the game if they realized the press wasn't working and they would just shift along their line like a foosball table, like players on a foosball table. They never really went to that, which is, you'll see it on the film. There wasn't really a lot of collapsing in the midfield like you saw on the other side with West Michigan. But once again, Mooney takes the ball off the right back, takes 3 defenders on, and the one thing that really could have made this play a lot worse is you have to thank the groundskeepers for not really maintaining that south end zone, because that ball takes a skip over the outstretched hand of one of the Bearings defenders. And that could have really just mucked everything up, because then you're talking about penalty shouts and who knows. But Louis right there, right place, right time. Their keeper's stuck like a deer in headlights, unable to move, and it's just easy as you like. But thankfully, that ball skipped over and just decided it was going to stay on the ground whenever it got to Louis' feet.
I honestly didn't notice that. That's a pretty good find right there.
It was very close.
Yeah, I have faith they would have put it away. But hey, it helps. You'd rather take the goal over the PK. But that was it for the scoring. 3-2. Lansing had some urgency, created a couple more chances. I think most famously the missed header from Meshke late, but not quite enough to get a draw out of there. But all things considered, I think from feeling like, oh man, are we trash? To hey, there is something there. Was in the end, I felt weirdly encouraged. We'll talk a couple things here. First off, interesting quote to Phil Friend after the game. Coach Oakes, well, he had one quote that said something like, I'm sure the players that created those chances will get back into those chances, which to me, which we'll talk about later, but implied, he plans on tweaking the lineup a little more. He also told Phil Friend, in regards to the slow starts, we got to figure it out. Is it mental? Is it physical? We'll figure it out. Dylan, do you think it's more the early struggles in particular, is this a mental thing or a physical thing? I mean, it was, as Cameron said, it was very hot out there, especially if you're playing on that turf, and it's early in the season. There could be some communication stuff, or is it just a bad mentality?
No, I'm gonna go with classic commentary there and say a bit of both. Walk that line. So obviously, you have the physical aspect. I mean, even from the bleachers, that heat was horrendous on Saturday. I mean, you just felt it, and like Cam was saying, that turf adds some degrees out there, and you've got a team they've been playing together for 2 weeks now, something like that. Barely been together. First competitive game, second game overall. I mean, that's got to stretch your legs there. And then obviously mental. I mean, the formation change, to me, it did seem to affect the chemistry of the team, especially after the Fort Wayne game. And I mean, you don't have people on that. When you get a new group of guys together, it takes a while to gel. And when you change in formations like that, it's always going to take a little bit to kind of, get that team mentality going on there.
Do you have any thoughts on that quote, Jeff? Yeah.
The quote, I actually kind of disagree with your interpretation. I think that quote was in reference to players not finishing at the end, and still being mentally ready to do it again. Because I do think Ben Meshke has actually been one of the more, I'd say, surprising additions. Like, he wasn't a starter, but I think when he comes on, he brings something a little bit different, a little bit. I mean, he's a workhorse, and so he's getting in good spots and trying to win the ball and presses probably one of the best pressing, like true forwards that we have. So I actually, even though he got a miss, I actually think he might actually be in the mix for a starting role in a game or two. But yeah, the heat was the mentality, I think, and the heat go hand in hand, because I think the heat was in a good chunk of players' heads before the game even started. Because instead of all being in the locker room or out in the warm-ups, like, they spent a lot of time on the concourse talking about how hot it was. So I think they kind of psyched themselves out of it, and kind of, I think that could account for the sluggishness. Not just the fact that it was hot, but the fact that their mentality was like, it's hot. So I think a little bit of focus, I don't know how our mental skills coach will handle that, but I'm certain that we'll get that figured out. But I mean, sluggish play accounted for most of the deficiencies in the game plan overall. But I do think there are a couple guys that probably might lose starting jobs, at least for a week, just as a, hey, you're talented, but you got to perform. I think that might be coming. So,
Cameron, I mean, you talked about some decent stretches they had, maybe the last 15 minutes of the first half or so, but I mean, I think the difference between after that goal and before that was pretty apparent. What do you think was the big difference between the first 60 minutes and the last 30 minutes?
I mean, it's kind of hard to basically break it up. I'll break it up into 3 different segments just to make it easier. The first 30 minutes, it was a lot of guys forcing the game and not letting the game come to them. Saw that against Fort Wayne, and West Michigan made them pay in the first 15. Almost could have had a couple of other chances in the first 30, but after that, looked up. You give up a goal right before the halftime whistle. Sucks, but it happens. It happened to Fort Wayne 2 weeks ago. But a lot of the differences between that first 60 and the last 30 was a confidence mentality, I think. You saw in the first 60 minutes, there was no way to get through the middle at all. And the middle is a lot of high quality scoring chances. And West Michigan was doing a very good job at forcing Lansing to be a one-trick pony. Play the long ball up all across the sides. And you saw it on the first goal. a great play by Kyle and a great win back by Owen to start the move, press up a little bit higher, move the ball up slowly across the pitch, and then find your moment and strike. Too early and too often are the moves breaking down before they even begin for this team, and that's something that they've been working on this week. That's something I saw them work on Tuesday when I went. It's a lot of, you don't need to take 8 to 9 touches on the ball in order to find somebody. Turn, get your head up, take 2 to 3 touches, and find somebody else. Take players out of the game, switch the point of attack. And in that last 30 minutes, you saw the fatigue factor for West Michigan. And almost for the second time in 3 weeks for them, they almost let in multiple goals and gave up 2 points on the road. They gave up a 2-0 lead to Inter Detroit 3 weeks ago, went in 2-1 at the half, gave up a last-minute equalizer with Gabe Balon getting his brace. But that team, in 4 weeks, they've been tested a couple of times, and they switch on and off. And that last 30 minutes, West Michigan switched off, and a lot of it was because there was a lot more challenging, a lot more 50-50s being won by Lansing Common because they put in that extra effort. So in terms of what I would say it was, between the first 60 and the last 30 is confidence. And you saw that with a lot of the subs that came in, and it's once again letting the game come to you, not forcing anything, and keeping moves going and not letting them break down before they even begin.
Yeah, I think what Jeff said too with the subs was a big deal, because I think a lot of those, I wonder if a lot of the guys who started were like conserving energy, like, hey, I can't put it all out there. I got to save some for later. I mean, the guys who came in the last 30 minutes, obviously they weren't that worried about it. They were just going all out. I mean, you saw the contests, but yeah, I mean, I think Kyle Scott kind of putting the team on his back in that first goal helped a lot. Like Ty Uziak, I barely noticed him really. He subbed in pretty early for Rosedale. I didn't notice him a whole lot, but then after he made that nice play, he immediately had like a nice pressure on the bearings. His mentality just seemed to totally change. Like that goal just like kind of was just, I guess, the team needed to wake up. And I think that was huge.
Yeah, I think Ty, he popped on the rewatch. Because he a lot of what he did was drop back and try to get things going in the midfield and maybe collect the ball in the midfield and play it for and keep try to be the connector of that midfield. Like it was almost like a sludge, just like the ball wasn't getting out of midfield. And he was kind of influential in the fact that he dropped back a little bit and kind of helped unlock it a little more, especially he came in early, but as his energy kind of wore on the bearings a little bit, and then we got new, fresher legs for him to play off of in the second half, I think he became much more influential. I think he had a really good performance.
Yeah, we will be talking a little bit about the starting lineup when we talk about Inter Detroit in a moment too. So we'll get our takes in on that because we got to think a change or two is coming. But first, man of the match. So if you were a Capital Combustion listener, I'm bringing back my convoluted system that everybody cares about and loves. So every vote by everyone on here will get a point, and if you win man of the match, you get an extra 2 points, and I'm just going to compile that at the end of the year. It's just a beautiful system that everybody loves.
It's totally fair.
Let's start with the man, the disembodied voice of Steve Beckman. Who was your man of the match? I know you actually keep a file with these.
Well, maybe not an extensive file like you, but on the rewatch, and it's going to sound awkward to bring it up, but Aiden O'Connor was the second half man of the match for me because there could have been a lot of opportunities by Bearings to put in 2, 3, at least goals that he was able to stop. He didn't have as many challenges as you might expect, but without him making some smart plays, I think there was at least 2 goals in the game that they would have got. So if I split mine, it was Kyle Scott and Aiden O'Connor, and Aiden got the nod for me just by being able to keep that spine in the back.
It gets on the board. Yeah, these are the first ones that actually count. So Aiden's on the board. exciting stuff for him, I'm sure. Cameron, you had a little bit of a debate with Luca live on air about man of the match. So I think I know your pick.
Which was great, by the way.
I did enjoy that. Unless you've changed your mind, I think I know who it is. But who is your man of the match?
No, it's still the same. It's going to be Kyle. I know that if I remember correctly, now mind you, my memory is not as sharp as it was a year ago. Even for only being
a year at MSU, man.
2 years now. Geez. For me, it was a beautiful, spirited debate on the live stream between both Louis and Kyle. I just thought Kyle, he's on his own a lot of the times, and with the bringing the momentum back into the team with that 61st or 62nd minute goal, it just seemed like he allows the game to come to him no matter where he is on the pitch. And I actually had a really nice conversation with his mom at the community outreach event that morning, where we knew he was the leading goal scorer for Lakeland High School, but we didn't realize, he's played winger his entire life. That's his bread and butter. And when he slid back into defense, you have a lot more control of the game being there, and you get a lot more scouts as well, because not everybody's trying to fill up a right back spot. Everybody's trying to fill in the right wingers. So I think it's natural for him to be able to sprint 50 yards up the pitch on a moment's notice and just slot a couple balls past a couple of outstretched keepers. And I feel like even though that he didn't get as many touches as he wanted this week as he had in that Fort Wayne friendly, still being able to put the team on his back and get it to a decent scoreline at 3-1 in that moment of time puts him at man of the match for me.
So you brought up that right winger point on the broadcast, and I enjoy knowing that you just you found that info out of the community outreach, man. Got to get that info anywhere you can, right? That's awesome. But yeah, that your debate with Luca, I actually wanted it to keep going. I wanted the broadcast to go off the rails WWE style, and you guys just going at it. But maybe next time, maybe on a friendly.
They're more professional than that.
That's why I'm not in the way. That's why I'm not on the broadcast. Yeah, I don't want you guys to do like Mario and Pemba and Rod Allen thing though. So let's don't go too crazy. Jeff, who is your man of the match?
Yeah, watching the game live, what I was able to, the person who was most impressive in terms of just presence on the field was Aiden O'Connor. But on the rewatch, I actually kind of changed it. And I know Aiden's my guy, but
yes,
I actually it's actually between Munir or Ty Uziak. Just what they provided. I think I might just give it to Ty, because I feel like him coming on and being the bridge helps spur the comeback, literally with an assist, but just his energy and positioning kind of changed the flow of our attack. So I don't think we make the comeback unless we put Ty on and Rosendale comes off. So I think Ty was my man of the match. But everybody else, I mean, Kyle Scott was also great. But I think Ty was the most valuable player for us on the field.
Dylan, I think I know your answer, but go for it.
He's here. He's there. Every fucking where. Kyle Scott. Now, I was actually conflicted. I was kind of hoping that Jeff was going to say Munir, because to me, Munir, he was fantastic.
Sorry, that's another guy you created a chant for, by the way.
Yeah. No, that was all Jeff. That is cannot take credit for the Munir chant. That's a
fun things happen when I can, drink a beer and actually just relax after a soccer game. Stuff happens.
Jeff, I hope you heard that one a couple times. I hope you heard the Munir chant.
Not from a distance. I think you guys need to be a little more confident with it, but it's a good one. So you got time.
Yeah, we'll get some time. Yeah. I was debating this one as well. Munir, I know you hate watching Capital Commotion, Weston, I know you hate when people go with 2, so I knew I had to narrow it down to 1.
Yes.
Amir Sherali, he did make a huge impression on midfield. To me, he was the only midfielder that I wasn't like totally berating, like, you know, at halftime, like lazy. To me, he was having he was getting back in good positions and stuff like that, making stuff for the team. And then obviously second half, he was a big contributor to us getting back in the game. But Kyle Scott's energy, his drive, and obviously that goal getting us back in the goals in the game. He takes my man of the match. He was amazing. I just love the way he plays. Kyle Scott all day.
Yep. I'm the same. I went Kyle Scott, so he'll take this one. Won 5 out of his 7 challenges, 3 out of his 5 tackles, had 2 key passes, 80% pass accuracy, and I mean the goal.
But how was his touch map, Weston?
I didn't dive as deep into that one. There's a lot of data, and it's tough to get through it all.
I'll just say Munir's was incredible when you actually look at it, like displayed on the field where he took his touches. Like, crazy.
I mean, Munir and Kyle Scott are definitely the guys that put the team on their back in spots. So, you know, but I still got to go Kyle Scott. That first goal was everything to this team, and I think it really lit a fire under them. But Munir would be my runner-up for sure. I do hope, you know, I think he had a better free kick at the end. Like I think he was the one that took the corner at the end that almost led to the goal.
It was a free kick that played into the box. But yeah, you're right.
A couple early that just based on what I saw at Fort Wayne, I think, you know, he's going to be better than that usually though. But so I'm going to go Kyle on this one. I think he's going to be in the conversation on a lot of these based on what we've seen. So it's a busy weekend for the Common. Friday, we're on the road against Inter Detroit in Auburn Hills. I feel like I should note that several of us from the supporters group are planning on being there and we'll be at Muldoon's in Auburn Hills around 6:00 before the game. I know Dylan, you'll be there with me.
For sure.
So Inter Detroit is actually undefeated. They don't get the props, but they are undefeated at this point. 5 points in 3 games. They did tie the Bearings at their house. They tied Livonia in kind of an ugly game that kicked off the season, and they beat LK. So I love this question. You know I love this question, but obviously if there's a playoff system, I wouldn't be asking this. But considering you have to be at the top of the table and, you know, we already have a loss against the top competitor under our belt, do you consider this game a must-win game? Cameron, you've been watching them at training. Do you see that kind of must-win urgency? Is that the vibe you're getting from the team?
This is a tough one because of the conversation that me and Luca had with Coach Oakley after the game. It's, you know, could you have won a trophy today? No. Could you have lost a trophy today? No. It's so early in the season. And especially with this team, we've all talked about it. We've all seen it. This is a very good team. On paper, this is a very good team. Now, when you put all those moving parts together, you're gonna need to get some WD-40, and you're gonna have to grease the wheels and grease the gears a little bit. I would like for them to win. I mean, I wish that was a part of the question, but in terms of some of the players, in their mindsets, they're gonna see this as a must-win because you don't want to go down in an 0-2 or a 2-loss hole and say, you know, the season's pretty much over with. But taking a look at Inter, it's LK. They got 3 points against LK. I don't, especially because it's being so early in the season. There's 3 teams with 1 game under their belt, ourselves included. But there's some teams in here that can play, West Michigan included, and then there's some teams that obviously, you know, need to look themselves in the mirror. And there's weeks where, you know, Lansing Common's going to go up against the buzzsaw of a team and, you know, squeak out a couple of points here and there. But to me, this isn't necessarily a must win. This is a screw your head on straight and play a full 90 minutes because in the first 2 weeks, that's what we have yet to see. And I believe against this team, they can. It's going to be indoors, if I remember correctly. It's a Friday night game.
Yeah,
really no reason to leave anything in the tank. You're just riding a bus home. And it's a good tune-up because there are a couple of teams in this league that can play, and Inter's one of them. And you show up against them, take 1 to 3 or 1 point from them, you're in pretty good company.
Dylan, sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
I'll kind of jump off that, and I think the way I was describing it is not a must win for the table, because we're unlike like the Lansing United women, which is, you've asked me that twice because they play like 8 games. It seems like our season's a little bit longer, so there's room for attrition to happen in our seasons. Freak results will happen, so I'm not thinking after one game nothing is a must win for the league table. Absolutely not. But I do think it is a must win for the team coming together and playing as an well-oiled machine, like Cam was alluding to. Because I know we got a late run into it, and we're playing catch up in terms of team cohesion and some of the concepts we're trying to instill. But I think second league game, I really think is when we should start to really get it moving. And then I think once we do, if it happens, I hope it happens quickly. But once it does happen, I think we'll be in really good shape.
Dylan, you got the more emotional perspective here, which is what I want. Let's push back. It's a must-win game, right?
So is this like Captain Planet, where we have rings and I'm like the supporters group? I'm just here with heart.
Yes. Yes, you are heart. Thank you.
Cam and Jeff over here with some supreme tactics. Heart. Yeah, obviously, it's new league, stuff like that. I haven't gotten a chance to watch an inter game yet. Yeah, it's always a must win, but obviously for the table and stuff like that, no playoffs. And hearing that they're a pretty good team, we'll see what we can do on the road. I like what Jeff's take on the fact that we got now a friendly under our belt, competitive game on our belt. Let's really see what the guys can do in the third game that this group has played together.
Yeah, my one counterpoint. I mean, you're probably right with with Lansing United. It's I think it's a 10-game regular season, and we have 14, I believe. Yeah, so there's a little more time, and we will be taking on the good teams, and we'll have a chance to pass them up there. I guess the one thing that worries me is right now, if I were to tier the teams, I'd probably have DCFC, the Stars, and West Michigan in the top tier. And I mean, only one game for us, but we're probably in that middle tier. We know they have the potential, but just didn't necessarily show it all in week 1. And then Inter Detroit, tied the Bearings pretty good. Beating LK, not that impressive. Tying Livonia, not that impressive. And that's the game I watched. They didn't look amazing in that game, but that was their first game. So if we're playing the other team in that kind of tier, I mean, if you're losing that game, I mean, how much more time? You're not going to have a lot more time to get to the point where you can take on those teams in the top tier and pass them. Yeah, I mean, mathematically, they're not eliminated at all if they lose or if they draw. But if we don't win this, I'll just find it hard. I've looked at DCFC's roster; it's really good. Like they have some top level college talent there, as we kind of expected. I just don't think they're going to lose a lot. So I think for winning it all, it might be close to a must win. Maybe I'll hold off just a little from saying it. I'll say it's very important. If they lose this one, they're going to have to go on a winning streak fast.
I think what you're saying is it's a must point, not a must win.
Yeah, but I guess I will say must, but we'll settle on that. Compromise, good stuff. Love it.
Isn't every game a must win for Weston? I think.
Yeah, he really desperately wants every game to be a must win. Which, no, again, actually, going back to the heart, I that's perfectly fine. But
okay, for Ignite, I was actually the one who always pushed back because it was a 28-game season, 4 teams in the playoffs. I with Lansing United, only 2 out of 5, 10-game season. This no playoffs in this one. It adds some urgency to things. That's all I'm saying. And if we had even a 2-team playoff, I would absolutely say no. This is a more important game for just gelling and figuring stuff out. But with the table how it is, it's very important in my opinion. But I'll say must point. I'll go with you there, Jeff. So we talked a lot about the starting lineup. We're pretty confident changes will happen. I'll go around. Give me one guy you either think will be in or you want to see starting. Jeff, I think you gave yours away earlier, but
yeah, Ty or Ben Meshke starting alongside Shetty. I don't know why specifically Rosendale came off. I couldn't tell if it was specifically injury or just not playing well because it could have been both. But I think one of those other, I think Ty probably gets the edge in the way he kind of can connect with the midfield. I think out the gate, having him with Shetty, I think would make a good pairing. So I'll go with Ty. I think the back line we're gonna see Josh Adam sooner and probably see Hammers go to the bench. But and I think once that happens, that back line is gonna be super rock solid. And we'll see in the midfield. I'm not really, emotional either way on where we're at. I think just there's a lot of bad to go around, so I'm not really casting a blame on anybody and calling for anybody to get subbed out yet in the midfield.
I will say Cameron brought up the tactics of the Bangs earlier, and for both Rosendale and Shetty early, I was struck by how often they are in 2-on-5 situations and just seem to have no support coming. I mean, you could argue maybe they needed to hold on to the ball a little longer, but it just felt like they were on a total island 2-on-5 in that first 30 minutes. And so I really don't put any blame on them, although I won't be shocked, like I said, if Ty starts. But just personally, I kind of put that more in the midfield. Cameron, what do you think? I mean, obviously you might have more insight here with your conversations with Oaks and watching training.
It's gonna be pretty much, they're gonna take a really good look at, who's performing in training and who do they know that can show up on time and not 30 minutes into the match. I can, on second, I'll have to rewatch those first 30 minutes a lot more closely. To me, it didn't seem as though that Shetty and Rosie were necessarily trying to hold the ball along. I actually thought they were trying to take on 3 defenders at one time and just got cornered into the wings when there was no help coming back because they always had one trailer there in the midfield that was closing off that connecting pass to go back. But to me, the back line's going to stay the same, albeit once Josh comes in and Hammers sits back down. I would love to see Stebby get in there at some point.
Is that Esteban Russell?
Yep.
Okay.
For some reason, I really do like Marco. Even really good guys, they have bad days and they muck up every now and then, and that's what happened on that third goal. You can just take it with a grain of salt. He was the catalyst against Fort Wayne, and they tried to give him that job against West Michigan, but the positioning of pretty much everybody else on the pitch never allowed for that to happen. So maybe Esteban Russell, he takes the spot of Liram. Liram's had a few too many touches, it seems, in the past couple of weeks. He's worked on it in training. But as you said, in the front two, Ty coming in or Ben coming in, even Noah Canlis in the midfield would also work as well. It depends. I know they're going to want to keep the 4-4-2. Time is up to change formations, so we'll see what he does, but they're going to take a long look, and hopefully Thursday we'll have some answers.
Yeah, I like your point on Marco, by the way. That was, the other guy I heard maybe taking the most heat just in the stands and stuff. But it's like he just had, in my opinion, the best performance on the team the week before, and I think most would agree, at least top 2 or 3. Not his best game, but I can't write him off after one game when he showed me something in the first game.
Yeah, I mean, to just kind of explain that a little bit further, don't mean to steal anybody's thunder, but with the way that the game plan was supposed to go and what they had practiced in training, seeing Marco on the wings was not anywhere on the game plan. Where he picked that ball up, he was not supposed to be there. Dante was supposed to be there, but he was up on the up higher up the pitch. Dante was supposed to be playing that lower diamond role, and you didn't see it until that final 15 of the first half, and then going into the second half, you didn't see him kind of get into that position. He was more having to be on the wings because they were pressing higher up the pitch, and that's just what happened.
Dylan, any changes you want to see?
I guess from the limited amount of play that I've seen, I really like the way that Esteban Russell played when he came on for us in the friendly. I liked his mark, and that's a player I'd like to see a little bit more. Maybe I know we were talking about a player that was late or something like that, but yeah, that was he made a mark on me in the friendly for sure.
Yeah, that was the guy I was hyping last week, and I said I think he was unavailable this week. I hope he's back. I'd love to see him out there Friday. I think he'll make a big difference out there. Yeah, I am curious to see Josh Adam in action. I think he also was kind of unavailable due to other stuff last.
Yeah.
game.
So the story with him, this is why I love the kid. He played it in Youth State Cup literally that morning. So he had played a full 90 already that day, and he actually showed up and was like, "I want to play." And Oaks was like, I'm not gonna do that to you. I'm not gonna overwork you, because I mean, Oaks, like, one of his things is he just wants, like, he wants good relationships and to build this thing the right way. And so that's one of the things I'm like, I'm not gonna overwork you, even though Josh wanted to play, he wanted to start, but it was just the bench for him. But I assume he'll be ready to slot in early as Friday, and I can't wait, because I mean, I've seen a little bit, and he's a pretty smooth defender.
He's got one of the best track records on the team. He's younger, so that can play a role, but he's definitely got one of the best track records on the team coming on. Sunday, team's on the road against the USL League 2 squad, Kalamazoo FC. So that should be a high-level match. Considering they play Friday, Cameron, I don't know if you've got any insight on what Oaks' plan is there. Do you think it's just going to be all people who didn't play Friday getting some reps, or maybe if Friday goes poorly, could it still be just experimenting with that starting lineup?
I know I'll get a chance to ask him that question tomorrow after practice, since practice it was canceled today, and yesterday it was mainly just trying to see what they were, make appearances after, just in case I said something wrong on the live stream. You don't want to do that. You don't want to piss people off. But from what I understand, and talking to him last Saturday, it's still an important game to them. So I don't assume that it's just going to be a roll on, let's roll in, all the subs from Friday and start a completely different starting 11. I'm pretty sure every game that he can, try to get the squad to gel is something he's going to want to do. So I don't see a lot of changes, unless, maybe Friday goes super poorly, or, guys pick up a couple of bangs, but maybe those guys that are maybe not 100%, that are 85 to 90 that play Friday, maybe take the night off. But it's still an important game to them in terms of gauging where this team is at on a professional level.
Yeah, I mean, a high level point. I'd like to see them go all out on that one and try and beat a USL League 2 team. So, hopefully, but yeah, obviously, I do trust Oaks, especially with Jeff telling the Josh Adams story. I trust Oaks not to over push somebody that he's worried about maybe not being 100%. But anyone that still feels good after playing Friday, let's see you out there. Let's try and win that game, even if it doesn't count for the table. As you guys may know, I'm pretty man friendlies, but this one I'm kind of hyped about. I want to win.
Is that a must win there, Weston? That friendly must win.
It's a must win for my enjoyment. All right, let's get into. So we'll talk about both those games next week, probably more than Detroit, and we'll talk about maybe briefly about KZU since it is a friendly. And not as must win. Dylan, kind of asked what do you think the difference was between the first and the second half. I think we kind of tackled that. A mix of factors, for sure. This one's more probably for Jeff. Kind of said essentially the same crowd this week, 485. I believe it was just about 500 in week one. Supporter stands looked more full last game. Press box looked a bit more full as well, probably because no one was really in the standing section this time. Are you happy with Game 2 attendance, Jeff, from a board perspective?
It's well within our projections. We're still kind of dealing with that COVID restriction, but people still might be a little wary or maybe a little confused on our ticketing process just because we had those extra steps, just to be safe. So, I mean, as things open up more and we get more into the summer, I'd like that number to go up. But for right now, I'm totally happy with 485. It seemed like the crowd was pretty engaged, which is honestly more important than the number. I think of how much they're going to our merch table, which has been a lot. I think they were rolling through concessions when concessions was open in the second game. And I mean, strange matter, it looks like they run out like at both the games. So it looks like that part of it, like the game day environment, feels good, even though it's around 500. And I'd love to see us up near 1,000 at some point this season. But at the same time, if we can create a cool environment with 500, let's just celebrate that.
Yeah, I do think the environment's been good. It's been solid. I mean, we have high hopes, and I think, like you said, Jeff, post COVID, and just as we keep working things out, like I think we're gonna have a food truck there on the 6th, and I know there's plans to keep food trucks coming. I think having some food destinations will definitely help, and just people spreading the word. But I mean, I don't think anyone could be disappointed with this start.
Yeah, and sure. to add on to what I said, it's not just the numbers. It's like what those numbers look like, and I thought it was just awesome. It was one of the most diverse soccer groups, like soccer crowds I've seen for pretty much any Lansing. Like Lansing United looked very, I'll be honest, it looked very suburban. And there was a great mix of all different types of, like, all walks of life come to common games. And that's something we've preached on. That's one of our core values, but to actually see it kind of like coalescing in real time, like, wow, our messaging and our ethos are actually making an impact, and who's like receptive to us, I think it's more important than the numbers, I feel. So
yeah, and as someone who spent the last 9 months planning on COVID protocols, I am distinctly aware that there are people that are just now going out into public groups for the first time in a very long time, and there's hesitancy there. And when the mask mandate changes and all of a sudden another rule changes, that could add to the hesitancy as well. We're grateful for everybody who comes out, like Jeff said. We see everything from 3-year-olds to 83-year-olds, and that's awesome. But we totally understand that there's not going to be that great leap forward all at once to everybody go back in public all together once again at the same time. So yeah, the numbers are really great for what we were planning for, and if they grow, even better.
I think year 2 mascot that would grow attendance. Just throwing it out there.
So there was a joke out there that the other Cam, not the Cam that's on tonight, but Cam who left us to go to Portland. Year 2, a goal was for the club to raise the money, and if we could raise the money for a mascot suit, he would wear it. That was on the table. So he can't wear it now, but I still think a character mascot would be hilarious to have.
I think it would help with halftime. Get people going during halftime. But year two goals. Ken asked for Jeff, were you surprised with the overwhelmingly positive response to the goalkeeper jerseys? And he asked if the yellow jersey was from the Campos collection. #MLS old school.
So was I surprised at the overwhelmingly positive response to the goalkeeper jerseys? No. I knew people would like them. I mean, it's one of those things, like, I mean, you just kind of know when you just throw something at the wall and it's gonna stick. Um, I was a little surprised with how many people actually wanted to buy them because goalkeeper jerseys traditionally don't sell well, no matter what team they are and what they look like. So when we did our limited run, we sold out of those in 15 minutes, and so we did a pre-order and pretty much doubled the number of original orders we made. So we made a killing on those. But Ken, I have love for the Jorge Campos look, and I'm always going to be looking at finding a way to make that kind of part of our goalkeeper repertoire.
I will say I bought the brick kit day one. I did not buy the yellow kit, but so many people were wearing it at the game, and it looks so good. Because I'm not a guy who likes to wear flashy stuff, but I was like, as Jeff knows, I caved last second, and I bought one game day.
I'm proud of you for caving too. The club thanks you.
I now own all 4 kits. Thank God. Even though I don't usually wear kits out and about. I guess I'm gonna have to start because I don't have a choice.
You'll just have to show up to more outdoor soccer goalkeeping, matches.
I suppose so.
If only there was a team you could play on that you could do that with.
I didn't see him on Monday. Where was he?
I know. And by the way, who we got to replace him is way better. So
okay. Well,
Weston might have lost the starting job. Anyway, that's a diversion. We'll get back to.
I had 12 saves in my one game. That's all I want to say. For Cameron, Ken had a question. What sort of pre-broadcast prep do you do? Opposing team research, opposing player research?
Yeah, so I'll backtrack this a little bit. Being at Michigan State and kind of being I'm trying to think here. Being a radio broadcaster for the student radio station for men's hockey this past year, you have the sports information department, the sports information directors. So a lot of the times it's a lot of the same stuff, getting the stats on the guys on your team. And most of the time I was able to pick out who the other 20 players were going to be for the opposing team when they came in. They would play 2-game sets. I was always better at knowing the stats and the names the second game than the first game. But for this, it's kind of a lot different. We did a lot of our broadcast prep for ourselves for Lansing Common for this team before that first game. So we have a lot of, high school stats, collegiate stats from a lot of the guys. So that's just an ever running Excel spreadsheet of who actually scores this season and then their previous totals. But opposing teams, it's a lot harder, especially with getting the rosters in pretty late. You can have a general idea. Most teams do post their starting 11s, sometimes with names, sometimes without. West Michigan, I was pretty close to being able to predict their starting 11. Didn't realize that McCall wasn't going to be in the lineup, and I had done some research over him. But for them, a lot of West Michigan, their clientele was a lot of Hope and Calvin products, a lot of former Calvin players, so they all knew each other. But a lot of the times it's, get the gist of what we can about the opposing team, recent run of form, who their main guys are. And then going into the game, it's all about, okay, the 2 hours before kickoff or even the 1 hour before kickoff when some teams post their starting 11s, it's, all right, let's write it down. Let's write down the formation, their names, and figure out how to say their last names. And if we can get any information on who actually might score a goal, then we'll throw those cheeky nuggets in there. But a lot of the times it's think on the fly as with the opposing team. But with Lansing Common, we have a pretty good spreadsheet. We could tell you a lot about some of the players.
Yeah, I'd love to watch more of these streams from other teams, but man, it's been rough. It's at Stars versus Livonia was today, and you would think Stars at home, they have a pro side, so you think they'd have the setup to do a stream, but apparently no stream, at least according to Livonia Twitter. So because the Stars don't tweet about their U23 team, so just a well-run organization that we love. Jordan asks, was Lansing, I guess this is more for either Jeff or Steve, was Lansing Common approached by the recently announced NISA Independent Cup? And how would you feel about the club participating in something like this in the future? I'll just note that I reread it, and part of the Midwest Premier League affiliation with NISA is that they get a minimum of 2 spots in that cup. So I assume it's usually 1 East, 1 West, which is what happened here with Livonia and I'll just say Du Bois, just for old time's sake. So, did we have a chance of getting in this one, Jeff? And what do you guys think about trying to get into it in future years?
Yeah, so I don't know how actually it was. I don't know how it was actually determined this year. I know Livonia got it. I couldn't tell you why they got it, but it's essentially from here on out. It's kind of an informal. I don't know if it might be written down. I'd have to ask Eric about that. But from the league, it's just the top team in the East, top team in the West will be invited every year to play in that cup. And I really hope that they make a provision so it's not the U23s who get to play their parent team.
Yeah, that would make no sense. I was thinking that it would have to not be the U23 team.
You would have to, but it's also NISA, so I don't have the highest opinion of NISA as a whole. But in terms of how would I feel about the club participating? If it's not something that's like super detrimental to our budget, I'd be for it.
Yeah, and I'll add, we did have a conversation about participating in tournaments this season, and just being a new club, already having a full friendly schedule, not wanting to add to any kind of fixture congestion, we opted not to try and participate in any secondary tournaments this season. We are certainly open to that conversation next year.
Yeah.
I would love eventually to be able to kind of qualify for Open Cup. I feel like that's the underappreciated crown jewel of American soccer. So once the Open Cup kind of comes back to normal, I would love to do everything in our power to kind of get into that competition. And another cup like this, like Steve said, as long as if it's doable in terms of travel budgets and in terms of what our regular season schedule looks like, I'm down. I'll play more games.
Yeah. I'd just given the principles of NISA, you'd think we'd get some help traveling. I did ask Eric when it came out, President Eric Walcott, and I believe we couldn't get into this one anyway because we were new, and I'm sure the standards for deciding were kind of weird this year. But yeah, be the top. I assume not one U23 team, so we got to beat the Bearings, and I think we'll be in next year. So it's definitely a shot. And then kind of some late news was that our Coach Josh Oakley, is now with the Michigan Jaguars. Not good at pronouncing Jaguars. Did you guys get the story on that at all from Oaks? I assume he told you when he left Spring Arbor.
Yeah, the board was informed pretty soon after kind of everything went down. We're at this time, I don't think we're in the position to really disclose reasons why. All I'm really comfortable saying is we know the reasons why, and we are very comfortable with the reasons.
Yeah, we'll let
our coach. So
we'll let Coach Oakley speak for himself, but we're very excited that he has a new opportunity, and we're even more excited that he still has the opportunity to be with us and build this club together.
Yeah, it seems like from the social media that Michigan Jags is kind of excited to have hit our name associated with it too. So it sounds like they're really cool with him serving in both roles, and so yeah, we're excited to see what this could mean for us down the road in terms of whether it be player scouting or just how much time Oaks can devote to us year round. And yeah, it's there's some really good things that could come from this.
Yeah, I noticed on their tweet, I believe we got top billing over his 21 years of college experience. So makes sense. All right, so as we wrap up the Lansing Common stuff here, Lansing Soccer Showcase, that's our next home game, June 6th. Food truck will be there. You get to watch Lansing United play the Chicago Kicks. We're playing Grand Haven Admirals. It's going to be a fun afternoon. Seeing two teams, it's only $10. We talked about attendance earlier. Best way to do that is spread the word to your friends. And that's what Dylan did in the supporter group this past week. Dylan brought a lot of people, and it contributed greatly to the atmosphere. So props to you, Dylan. You are one hell of an ambassador for Lansing Common FC, and you are the only reason in the world I would even think about not hating Manchester City, because that's how good of an ambassador you are.
I appreciate that, Weston. Yeah, speaking on that, I do want to give a shout out to Dylan.
No one cares.
I forget his last name. But he made a 700-mile drive.
Oh, sorry, that guy. No, we do care. I thought you were going to talk about Man City for a second. My bad.
Oh, no. I was talking about common stuff here. I was talking about Lansing.
He's professional.
Lansing, but no. Yeah, Dylan, I forget your last name, but that 700-mile drive up from Charlotte, North Carolina, man, you are a legend.
That was awesome. If you ever go to Charlotte, we all got a source now. That's the beauty of this game. That's the beauty of supporter culture. Is, I mean, I said I have friends in Madison, Wisconsin, Omaha. I got friends in Statesboro, Georgia. You know, several places. We'll see if we can make some friends across the state this year, hopefully. But that's the beauty of it, definitely. So, props to him for coming out. That was awesome. All right, we're gonna. So that's June 6th, and hey, that's a good transition into some Lansing United talk. Jeff, they lost to DCFC 6-1. It sucked. We're not going to break down the goals, do all that. The stream was rough, so I had a hard time watching. I don't know if you just want to talk a little bit about where you're at real quick. We've already kind of running long, so I know you don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but give me your takes real quick, and we'll wrap up.
I think what summed up most of it in an interview with Phil, just getting the great quotes from coaches this week. He did like a post-game interview with Jason Christ, and Jason kind of hinted at the fact that commitment might be an issue for this team this year. Just a subtle, just one sentence thing, but United were missing, I'd say 4, maybe 5, like locked in would-be starters for this match. And I mean, I understand it's a summer season and you don't want to play every match, but I mean, it's just rough when you're up against like your biggest rival in your club's history. It's been the first match with fans between these two ever. And like 5 of your most key veteran players, the ones who are kind of important to the club's culture, are all missing from the starting lineup in the same week. So, I mean, just trying to be nice. Credit to those who did stay. You know, that's that old U of M saying, those who stay will be champions. Those who stay work hard and get full credit for me, but what they were going up against was just too much. I mean, Anna Stinson put in heroes work in the center midfield, which is not her natural position, and it showed. And I think Bria, I cannot pronounce her last name. I'm sorry, but she is an attacking player. She was playing central defensive mid most of the game. It's just players were out of position, and we're just not put in a position to succeed. And so I hope the players come back and we can get this turned around. But if the team is checked out, then it's gonna be a rough stretch. And I'm calling it the stretch this early in the season is just kind of depressing because we had lost 2 regular season games, 1 regular season game before this season, and now we're 0-3 already. So It hurts. It hurts.
And so actually at the same time as just an hour before as our Inter Detroit match away, Lansing United will be taking on Midwest United at home. Hey, I think we can all agree, a must-win game.
Yeah. At this point, the rest are absolutely must-win.
They're all must-win. They're all must-win.
Yeah.
So, so they got Midwest United on the 28th, the Mustangs on the 4th, and then the Kicks right after that, taking on both the Chicago teams back-to-back. So, if you haven't seen United yet this year, and if you're not making the trip to Auburn Hills, I can tell you Inter Detroit's stream is bad. So you might as well just go support United at home if you're not making the trip to Auburn Hills this week. And
I believe that Inter Detroit doesn't really have stands either, so that's going to be a fun experience.
There's like a weird overlook thing. I think is where we're going to stand.
Yeah, but it's not large.
Yeah.
So
no.
I mean, definitely.
It's going to be weird. It's going to be weird.
If you're on the fence, definitely at this point, just go watch the women.
Yeah.
And support them because they'll need it. Because I mean, Midwest is good too.
As we saw in week 1. So, yeah, for sure. If you're on the fence, I'd say it's easier to just stay home. If you are going, once again, Muldoon's, come see Dylan, a guy who I just respect greatly. Come see him knock back a few beers at a dive bar. And
I like that you respect greatly with watch him knock back a few beers.
And then I was gonna say and ignore his annoying Man City talk. But
yeah, that's getting kind of old.
He brought up Man City twice in this podcast, and I brought it up 0 times.
The guy who debated his first time on whether he was gonna wear a Man City kit or a common kit. So just saying.
And by the way, what's he wearing right now? Come on, Dylan.
Doesn't look like a common kid, Dylan.
Show your devotion to your true team.
This is for Sergio this week. This is for Sergio.
I give Jeff, if we're roommated, Jeff has a great backdrop. Good for you. Cameron, we need to get you I don't know, we need to get you some common posters or something for that room, man. It's not looking good right now.
Look, as all of your belongings seemingly piled up in your back, look who's talking.
I am in a transition as I'm in Metro Detroit. So yeah, it's not good right now. Look, my backdrop isn't good, but I'm still gonna throw bombs. All right, that's not gonna stop me. You think shame's gonna stop me, Jeff? You know better. Come on. So those posters are for sale at every home game. So me and Cameron will both be there first in line next time around. I'm not missing out this time. And Cameron, let's get some decorations, man. Let's go.
We'll try. It's been like this for about a year, so.
Oh man, just you could. Yes, and Pride Raiser, Dylan, if you want to hit that real quick.
Yeah, I was gonna make sure to touch base on that really quick before we left tonight. We did launch our Pride Raiser jointly with the Ransom today, so that's a program that we're doing. You get on the link. We posted it on social media, Facebook, Twitter, that sort of thing. You just pledge a certain dollar amount per goal that the two teams score over the course of June. And hopefully United and Lansing Common score a boatload of goals and we get a bunch of money. We are donating to the Salas Center. Hopefully we do some really good for them and get some money raised for them.
Absolutely. Sorry, I'm laughing. I can't say Cam's in Supermax. Well, actually, my favorite, before we go back to Pride Raiser, my favorite video, one of my favorite videos, I believe, was from Shad Cunningham, who had like a poster of himself in his room, and I just thought that was the best flex of all time. So maybe you can get a poster yourself, Cameron, for that.
Yeah, just dark backdrop with smoke, and you just sitting there cross-armed, just staring out, like total flex move.
Yeah,
I need Scott to get an action shot of Cameron that he can post in his own room during announcing this one of these upcoming weeks.
Yeah, when's Impact 89 FM's media day?
I don't know if Cam was expecting the amount of roasting, but it's next time you'll be prepared and you can give it back because it's totally fair.
So Cameron admitted he hasn't watched the show yet. He's been too busy prepping for actual games. Now he knows better. He's got to prep for this too.
Just watch, we'll all get roasted, just super hardcore next week.
He's coming out firing next time he's on.
Hey,
for
I've
sure.
got 6 hours worth of plane rides to watch and take.
Man,
inaccuracies, boys.
Wait, he's gonna be like our Tony Reale on PTI. He's gonna start fact checking us at the end. It's gonna be annoying.
All of a sudden, we're gonna get started getting assigned points for our takes.
This is gonna go bad. But Dylan, back to the Pride Racer real quick. So I believe there's like 9 games in June.
Yeah, something like that. Yep, 9 games combined between Lansing United and Lansing Common. So
put a dollar amount you're comfortable with. Let's raise some money. I know there's been a lot of success with these in the past. I think the last one was a little tougher because I think we had kind of done a mini Pride Raiser before it. Personally, for the assembly line. So this year, it's all in on the Pride Raiser for this month. So let's show everyone what Lansing's all about, and let's get some help to the Salus Center. I always struggle with that one. Is it Salus or Salus? But yeah, so plenty of games in June, so you'll have an extra rooting interest on every goal for both United and for Common. So love to see that. I love to see the Ransom and Lansing Common SG alliance there. All right, that's it for this week. Jeff, Dylan, Steve, thanks for your time as always, and Cameron, thank you for joining us from the announcing booth. I know we want to have you on again in a future week as well. So if we didn't scare you off too much. So thanks to all for your time, Steve. Thanks, Steve Beckman, the man behind the scenes, again, for being the true MVP. And thanks to all you for tuning in. We will talk to you next week.